price of a new car right now, with the average nearing $50,000. But if you buy a reliable car, your money goes a lot further.
The RV Industry Association is reporting 28 million Americans will travel by RV. Last time we spoke, you were telling me about all of the interest in RVs.
We've got RVs ranging from $12,999. Airstreams are one of our higher-end luxury products.
Right now, the $2.3 trillion RV industry is imploding, and the wreckage is everywhere. Brand new motorhomes, never driven, never owned, sitting in rows on dealer lots across America. Not for days, not for weeks, for months. Baking in the sun, draining thousands of dollars from the dealers who cannot move them. Shipments just collapsed 15.1%. Dealerships that survived the Great Recession are filing for bankruptcy. Family-run lots that sold RVs since the 1970s, gone. Overnight. And yet, 486,000 American households just sold their homes, packed everything they own, and moved into the exact vehicles that broke the industry. Banks are freezing credit lines. Cities are losing millions in tax revenue. And somewhere on a highway outside Tucson, a family is sitting in a repair shop staring at a $6,000 bill they never saw coming, wondering if the dream they gave everything up for was real. So here is the question nobody is answering. Is this the collapse of an industry or the birth of a completely new America? And who pays the price either way? In the spring of 2020, something extraordinary happened on the highways of America. As airports emptied and hotel lobbies fell silent, a different kind of traffic was forming. RV dealerships across the country watched their lots clear out almost overnight. Not gradually, not slowly, overnight. Families who had never considered an RV in their lives were suddenly calling every dealership within driving distance. Retirees who had planned European vacations were pivoting to motorhomes instead. Young couples who had spent years dismissing the RV lifestyle as something their grandparents did were signing paperwork the same afternoon they walked in. The reason was simple, and it was the same for all of them. The world had become unpredictable, and an RV was a bubble. A self-contained, movable bubble that you controlled completely. No airports, no hotels, no strangers. Just your family, your food, and the open road. Manufacturers scrambled to keep up. Factories in Elkhart, Indiana, the beating heart of America's RV industry, ran around the clock. Some plants hired hundreds of new workers in a matter of weeks. The production lines that normally slowed for retooling kept moving. There was no time to slow down. The orders kept coming. By the end of 2021, the industry shipped a record 600,240 new RVs. That number was nearly 40% above pre-pandemic levels. A mid-range Class C motorhome that had sold for $85,000 just 2 years earlier was now fetching over $120,000. Dealers had waiting lists for used trailers. People were buying sight unseen, paying above sticker, just to get something onto their driveway before the next buyer grabbed it. Campgrounds from Yellowstone to the Florida Keys posted no vacancy signs for the first time in years. Hashtags like van life and RV living exploded across social media. Suppliers struggled to deliver enough refrigerators, air conditioners, and chassis. Some builders reported lead times stretching to 12 months. The RV Industry Association called it unprecedented. Even luxury brands were reporting backlogs they hadn't seen in decades. One executive at a major manufacturer described the mood inside the industry at that exact moment. "We thought we were building for a new America. Turns out, we were just building faster than anyone could absorb." That single sentence contains everything you need to understand about what came next. Because with every new shipment rolling off those production lines, with every dealer filling their lot to capacity and placing another order on top of that, the gap between real demand and manufactured supply was quietly widening. Nobody in the industry wanted to see it, and by the time they did, it was already far too late to stop what was coming. By late 2022, the pipeline that had fed the boom became the weapon that broke the industry. Dealers who had spent 2 years watching inventory, vanished the moment it arrived, we're now watching something else entirely. The lots that once cleared in days were filling up and staying full. Orders placed months earlier kept arriving. Deliveries kept coming. And the buyers who had once lined up before the ink was dry on the window sticker had quietly stopped showing up. The industry told itself it was temporary. A brief cool down after an extraordinary run. The kind of short pause that happens after any boom before the next wave builds. So dealers kept ordering. Manufacturers kept shipping. And the inventory kept stacking up row after row, lot after lot, from Indiana to California. By late 2023, the denial was no longer possible. Lots that had been the envy of the industry 18 months earlier now looked like storage yards. Rows of gleaming motorhomes and trailers stretching to the horizon. Fully built, fully priced, completely unwanted. Then came the numbers that made it undeniable. In May 2025, new RV shipments fell 15.1% year over year, from 33,150 units down to 28,150 in a single month. For an industry that had spent years growing in double digits, this was not a stumble. It was the market delivering a clear and final verdict. And the manufacturers, locked into supplier contracts and desperate to keep production lines moving, kept shipping anyway. By the time the slowdown was impossible to argue with, the pipeline was completely jammed with inventory that nobody seemed to want at any price. The impact moved outward fast. Auction houses reported a sudden surge in never retail units. Brand new RVs sent straight from dealer lots by owners who could no longer afford to keep them. Clearance rates that had held above 80% during the boom collapsed to somewhere between 56% and 62%. Units were going home from auctions still unsold, still unwanted, still draining money from everyone connected to them. Even the giants were not immune. Camping World, one of the largest RV retailers in the country, watched its inventory financing balloon to over $500 million by early 2025. For a company that size, that number was painful but survivable. For the independent family-run dealerships with no cushion and no backup plan, it was a death sentence. Several filed for bankruptcy. Their showrooms went quiet. Lenders reclaimed the rigs. The crisis did not start with the sales collapse. It started earlier, deeper, and in a place most buyers never think about. It started with the system dealers use to finance every single vehicle sitting on their lot. Most people assume that the RVs sitting on a dealer's lot belong to that dealer, that the business bought them, owns them outright, and is simply waiting for the right buyer to come along. That assumption is wrong. And understanding why it is wrong explains everything about how this crisis turned from bad to catastrophic so fast. Most RV dealers do not own the vehicles parked outside their showrooms. They finance them. Through a system called floor plan lending, dealers take out short-term credit lines and use that borrowed money to stock their lots. Every single unit sitting in that row has a loan attached to it. Every single day that unit does not sell, the dealer is paying interest on it. The clock starts the moment the rig rolls off the transport truck. It does not stop until the unit is sold or the dealer runs out of money, whichever comes first. When the market was running hot, this system worked perfectly. Units moved fast, interest accumulated for days rather than months, and the carrying costs were easy to absorb. But the math has changed in a way that is quietly destroying businesses from the inside out. Interest rates that hovered around 3.75% in 2020 have more than doubled. Many dealers are now paying between 7.5% and 9% on every unit sitting on their lot. On a single $100,000 motorhome, that difference translates into thousands of additional dollars in annual carrying costs. Now multiply that across a lot holding 50 units, 100 units, more. The monthly interest bill alone can reach 6 figures. and that bill arrives whether a single unit sells or not. Then comes the 90-day threshold. Most floor plan agreements include a curtailment clause. If an RV has not sold within 3 months, the dealer faces a mandatory principal payment, typically between 10% and 20% of the original loan amount. Miss that payment, and the consequences are immediate. The lender can freeze the dealer's credit line entirely or demand full repayment on the spot. Either outcome is effectively a death sentence for a small operation with no financial cushion waiting in reserve. A manager at a mid-sized Michigan dealership described the feeling with painful clarity. Every day a rig sits, it costs us money. We try to mark them down, but buyers are waiting for deeper discounts. The interest just keeps piling up. The only exit available to many dealers at that point is the auction floor. Send the units, take whatever the hammer brings, and hope it covers enough of the loan to keep the bank from calling everything else in. But as thousands of dealers discovered at almost exactly the same moment, the auction floor was not a lifeline. It was the next disaster waiting to happen. Auction houses across the Midwest are busier than they have ever been. But walk onto one of those floors right now, and the mood will stop you cold. Because what is lined up under those auction lights is not the usual collection of trade-ins and aging inventory. It is brand new motorhomes, pristine trailers, vehicles with plastic still covering the seats, window stickers still attached to the glass, odometers that have never moved, units that have never had an owner, never left a lot except to be loaded onto a transport truck and driven directly to this moment. In Des Moines, one independent dealer held out as long as he possibly could. He had already cut prices 16% below book value back in January, convinced that the discounts would be enough to start moving units before the bank lost patience. They were not enough. When the lender finally pulled his credit line, the choice disappeared entirely. 90 units went to the auction floor in a single day. The average sale price landed 18% below what he owed. 90 units. One day. Gone at a loss he will spend years recovering from, if he recovers at all. The ripple was immediate. Neighboring dealers watched what happened and slashed their own prices the following morning, desperate to move anything before their lender made the same call. Each forced sale pushed the market lower. Each lower price point made the next round of auctions worse. The spiral fed itself, and it showed no interest in stopping. The numbers behind the chaos are staggering. Auction clearance rates that held above 80% during the pandemic boom have collapsed to somewhere between 56% and 62%. Dealers under pressure from lenders slashed their reserve prices by as much as 22% just to generate bids. And even then, hammer prices were landing 18% below cost. Units were going home unsold from auctions, where the seller had already surrendered significant ground just to get into the room. By May 2025, lender-owned units made up nearly 30% of all auction volume, triple the normal share. The banks that had spent years fueling the industry's growth had become its largest forced sellers. A major auction house executive described the scene without any attempt to soften it. We are seeing a dramatic increase in never retail units. Nearly a third of our volume is lender-owned. Price floors are eroding fast. In Elkhart, Indiana, a general manager at one of the largest dealerships in the region described the moment they made the decision to start slashing 40% off sticker. The phone started ringing, he said. But the panic was real. The bargain hunters had arrived, and every sale they made was another loss that moved the whole market one step lower. While the industry was bleeding out on auction floors and dealer lots, something else was happening simultaneously. Something the collapse itself helped accelerate. And it will reshape American life long after the last independent dealership closes its doors. Nearly 486,000 American households now call an RV their only home. Not a vacation home, not a weekend escape, their only home. That number has quadrupled since 2021. And the people behind that number are not who most Americans picture when they imagine life on the road. The classic image of the retired couple in a Winnebago, gray-haired and unhurried, taking the scenic route through their golden years. That image is gone. The median age of full-time RV owners has dropped to 49. Nearly half are between 35 and 54. A growing slice of the movement is younger still. First-time buyers in their 20s and 30s, many of them remote workers who looked at rising rents, impossible mortgage payments, and a housing market that felt permanently rigged against them, and decided the only rational move was to opt out entirely. The diversity reshaping this movement is impossible to ignore. 30% of RV owners now identify as Hispanic, Black, Asian American, or LGBTQ+. 43% are traveling with children under 18. This is not a fringe lifestyle anymore. It is a multi-generational, multicultural movement, rewriting the definition of home in real time. 3 distinct groups are driving the numbers. There are those who chose this deliberately, remote workers and location-independent earners who traded square footage for freedom and never looked back. There are those who were priced out, renters and former homeowners squeezed by a housing market that stopped making sense for anyone without significant existing wealth. And there are those for whom the RV represents something much more urgent. A last line of defense against homelessness, a way to maintain dignity and a measure of control when every other option has closed. 22% of full-time RV households have at least one remote worker. For that group, reliable internet access has become as essential as fresh water or propane. The infrastructure of their lives has simply moved with them. Social media has made all of this look effortless. Hashtags like van life and RV living still pull millions of views. Sunrise yoga in the desert, campfire dinners under open skies, family road schooling adventures. But what most viewers never see is that a significant portion of the most popular creators are operating under sponsorship contracts that quietly prohibit them from mentioning major repairs or disclosing the real financial picture. The dream being sold online and the life being lived on the road are 2 completely different stories. And for hundreds of thousands of Americans already committed to the road, the gap between those 2 versions is where everything gets complicated. For Jen and Mark Ferguson, the decision started with a spreadsheet. It was the summer of 2022, and the numbers looked clean. Their old life outside Indianapolis cost roughly $2,800 a month. Mortgage, utilities, car payments, all the fixed costs that came with owning a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. A full-time RV life, they calculated, would drop that number to $1,900. Campground fees, fuel, insurance, and a modest loan payment replacing everything the house had demanded. They had 2 kids, remote jobs that could travel, and a growing feeling that the life they were living was costing them more than money. So they sold the house, packed everything that mattered into a used Class C motorhome, and pulled out of their driveway for the last time. The first months delivered everything the dream had promised. Mornings started with coffee beside mountain lakes instead of a suburban commute. Their kids, 7 and 9 years old, stopped learning geography from textbooks and started learning it from the windshield. The family hiked through Zion, traced the gold rush through California, and counted stars in the Arizona desert. Jen kept a blog. The photos were stunning. "Our home changes every week," she wrote. "Our kids see more in a month than we did in years." Then February arrived. Just outside Tucson, the transmission failed without warning. The tow bill alone came to over $600. The repair bill landed at $6,000. More than 3 months of their projected new living budget gone in a single afternoon. Mark remembers sitting in the repair shop staring at the invoice. "We knew there would be surprises," he said, "but nothing prepares you for that kind of hit. We had to drain our emergency fund just to get back on the road. They tried to recover, cut back on paid campgrounds, skipped attractions, tightened every line in the budget. But the expenses kept finding them. Propane refills, a cracked windshield, a full set of new tires after a blowout in Utah. Each one a small financial blow that the spreadsheet had never accounted for. The emotional costs arrived alongside the financial ones. They missed the routines of their old life. Neighborhood birthday parties, familiar grocery stores, the comfort of a backyard on a quiet evening. Their daughter Emma put it simply and heartbreakingly. "We meet new kids everywhere," she told her mom, "but we never see them again." And yet the joy was real too. Wild horses grazing at sunset in Nevada, a week camped beside the Pacific, Christmas in a national forest with lights strung across the awning and grandparents on a video call from a picnic table. Jen wrote 4 words that captured all of it. It is not always easy. She did not need to write the rest. The road already knew the answer. When 486,000 households drive away from fixed addresses, the institutions built around those addresses do not simply adjust, they crack. The damage is showing up in places most people never think to look. In county budget meetings, in school district planning sessions, in city council chambers where officials are trying to write rules for a reality nobody anticipated. The RV revolution did not just disrupt an industry. It pulled a thread that runs through the entire financial fabric of American civic life. And the unraveling is accelerating. In Elkhart, Indiana, and Maricopa County, Arizona, budget officers are staring at shortfalls ranging from $8 million to $27 million since 2021. Lost sales taxes, vanished payrolls, empty property rolls where homeowners and renters used to generate steady, predictable revenue. Libraries are cutting hours. School districts are trimming bus routes. Fire departments are staggering shifts trying to cover the same ground with less money than they had 3 years ago. One county treasurer described the situation to a local reporter with a bluntness that should stop anyone cold. "We built our budgets on the idea that people stay put. Now, they just do not." The debate spilling into city councils from San Diego to Bend is getting louder and uglier by the month. Where can RV dwellers park overnight? For how long? Under what conditions? Homeowner groups are demanding tighter restrictions, citing crowded lots and neighborhood disruption. Advocates are warning that aggressive bans will push the most vulnerable families directly into homelessness. Police are logging complaints. Campground owners are overwhelmed. And nobody in any of these rooms has a policy framework designed for a population that is technically present but permanently in motion. What is clear is that the infrastructure of American life, the tax systems, the zoning laws, the public services, the environmental frameworks, was built entirely around the assumption that people have fixed addresses. That assumption is now wrong for nearly 500,000 households and counting. The RV revolution was sold as personal freedom. And for many, that part is real. But freedom has a cost. And right now, the people paying that cost are not always the ones who made the choice to hit the road. The RV market did not collapse because of one bad quarter. It did not collapse because of one reckless manufacturer or one over-leveraged dealer chain. It collapsed because an entire industry and an entire culture made the same bet at the same time. The bet that a pandemic-era panic would become permanent human behavior. That the frenzy of 2020 and 2021 was not a spike, but a new baseline. That the demand would keep coming because the fear that created it would never fully go away. The manufacturers overbuilt. The dealers overfinanced. The banks overextended. The social media machine overpromised. And hundreds of thousands of American families walked directly into a financial reality that nobody in any of those glossy van life videos ever bothered to mention was coming. That same principle applies to every major financial decision you will make this year. And that is exactly why, before you get anywhere near a dealership or a dealer lot or a life-changing purchase of any kind, you need to download the free ebook, Avoid These 17 Cars in 2026, linked in the description below. Depreciation charts. Real reliability data pulled from actual owner reports. The exact models draining bank accounts quietly and consistently. Completely free. The road ahead already has enough surprises. This one you can see coming.